الشغل مع هذا كويس حلو.
His Excellency, the Deputy Minister of Education for Higher Education in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Dr. Abdul Menaem Al-Hayani, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to welcome you to the track event on advancing climate education through the Greening Education Partnership. My name is Farida Boudan, and I am the program specialist in the UNESCO Office for the Gulf States and Yemen. Let me please start by thanking the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for hosting the MENA Climate Week here in Riyadh, the Ministry of Education in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for being with us today, the COP28 presidency, UNESCO and UNICEF for co-organizing this event. This track event is both in English and Arabic, and interpretation is provided for those who need. So throughout the last few days, we've heard it in several times. Rapid and radical transformation at all levels is required if we are to respond to the challenges of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. And education is a central and powerful means to promote climate action and strengthen the resilience of learners and the societies. To create just and sustainable societies and futures, learners need to be equipped with the knowledge, the skills, the values, and the attitudes to become active and mindful citizens, both at the global and local levels, to tackle climate change and promote sustainable development. This track event today brings together young delegates, representatives of Ministry of Education, and civil society organizations in the Middle East and North Africa region to display ongoing work and efforts, good practices, to advance climate change education and action in the education systems in the region, and mobilize further commitments to this agenda in the lead up to COP28. The session is divided in 3 parts: an opening session, where we will be hearing remarks from young delegates, from ministries of education, from UNESCO and UNICEF and other UN agencies. A second part on a spotlight session where we'll be hearing good practices around the integration of climate education in the education systems in our region, and the closing session where young delegates will come again to the stage together with the COP28 presidency to bring all the threads together and provide the event key takeaways. So without any further delay, I have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Raya Al-Hababi, UNICEF UAE Youth Advocate for COP28, to give her opening remarks.
Thank you. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحضور الكريم، يسعدني أن ألتقيكم للمرة الثانية، ويشرفني مشاركة هذه الجلسة مع صناع القرار من أهم قطاع يساهم في بناء الأمم والحضارات والأساس للقطاعات الأخرى، قطاع التعليم. اليوم أسلط الضوء على قضية حيوية تتعلق بمستقبل الأطفال وكوكبنا اللي نشارك فيه، وهي أهمية إدراج مواضيع التغيير المناخي في المناهج الدراسية وتحويلها إلى مادة تعليمية رسمية في مدارسنا. قبل كل شيء خليني أقول لكم قصة صارت لي، أو خليني أقول شيء يخصني في بدايات اهتمامي في البيئة. كانت يوم كنت أدرس في الروضة حكومية، تم توزيع كتيبات في 2014 باسم الماراثون البيئي. هذه الكتيبات كانت تحمل مجموعة من الأنشطة اللي توعي الأطفال بشكل بسيط عن بيئتهم. طبعاً أنجزتها وعطوني أول شهادة إنجاز في مسيرتي. هالشيء يمكن يكون له أثر في كوني غاية الخضراء اليوم، وكذلك سفيرة اليونسف في الكوب 28 لليافعين. في زمن يشهد التغيير المناخ ليس فقط تهديداً محتملاً، وإنما واقعاً ملموساً، يصبح هناك الحاجة لبناء جيل مستنير ومسؤول. فأزمة التغيير المناخي هي أزمة حقوق الطفل. ليس فقط لأنها تعود للوراء بالإنجازات التي حققناها بالنسبة لنماء وحماية الطفل، بل إنها كذلك تعيق لتحقيق جميع حقوق الأطفال كما هي وردت في اتفاقية حقوق الطفل. إن تصدي تغيير المناخ والحد من تأثيراته هم أمران ضروريان لحماية أطفال العالم وإعمال حقوقهم، فالأطفال والشباب اليوم هم شريك أساسي في هذا العمل. والأطفال اليوم والغد الذي سيكون حملة الراية يستحقون تعليماً يمكنهم من فهم عميق التحديات والفرص اللي تفرضها التغيرات البيئية. هذا يعني إدراج أحدث المعارف والعلوم المتعلقة بالتغيير المناخ في المناهج الدراسية الوطنية، وفي الوقت نفسه ضمان اكتساب الأطفال المهارات الضرورية للنجاح في الحياة بشكل عام. هذه المهارات هي ملائمة لمستقبل العمل، بما في ذلك توسع الاقتصاد الأخضر وسبل العيش الأقل تأثراً بالتغيير المناخ وتدهور البيئة. فكما نعرف أن التعلم القائم على المهارات ضرورية أيضاً لتمكين الأطفال واليافعين والمعلمين للمشاركة في أنشطة التخفيف من آثار تغيير المناخ والتكيف معه ومواجهته في المدارس، لتشجيع الأطفال على أنهم يصبحون جزءاً كبيراً في حل مشكلة تغيير المناخ. مثل ما يقولون إن نحن ما نقدر نكون بس إيد وحدة، نحتاج إيدنا جميعاً عشان نقدر نتعاون، وإذا بس الكبار اللي قاموا إنهم يشاركون بهذه المواضيع والكبيرة، نحن الأطفال ترى نحن قادة المستقبل، نحن أيضاً لنا أثر ودور كبير عن نحن نساهم في هذا الموضوع. والأهم من ذلك الحلول التي يمكن السعي إليها بشكل جماعي. فخلاصة القول هو إدراج مواضيع التغيير المناخي في مناهج المدارس. هو ليس فقط مجرد استثمار في شهادات العية، ولكنه استثمار في قوة ومرونة أجيالنا القادمة، هو استثمار في عالم يراعي ويحترم جمال الطبيعة واستدامتها. شكراً.
Thank you very much, Raya, for this very powerful statement on the importance of also having youth and children in the climate education agenda. Let me now give the floor to His Excellency, the Deputy Minister of Education for Higher Education in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Dr. Abdulmanam Al-Hayani, for his opening remarks. Please, the floor is yours. Shukran.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السيدات والسادة، أخواتي وإخواني، أهلا وسهلا بكم في أسبوع المناخ في شرق الأوسط شمال أفريقيا. وأتشرف أصالة عن نفسي ونيابة عن وزارة التعليم اليوم أن أكون معكم حقيقة في هذه المقدمة التي أرغب أن أشارك هذا التجمع المميز، تجربة وزارة التعليم في استكمال كافة الأمور ودعم هذه التوجهات العالمية التي تتبناها المملكة العربية السعودية. بالتأكيد التغير المناخي هو واقع، لابد في البداية أن نعترف أننا يجب أن نعمل كأسرة، كمجموعة، ككيانات مشتركة لدعم ومواجهة هذا التحدي العالمي الكبير. ونحن في منظومة وزارة التعليم نفتخر أننا بدأنا العمل وصنعنا منظومة متكاملة نعتقد بإذن الله عز وجل أنها سوف تساهم في التوجهات الوطنية التي تقودها الدولة حفظها الله، والتوجهات العالمية بالتأكيد في التغلب على هذه التحديات العالمية الخاصة بالمناخ، ليس فقط في المملكة العربية السعودية، إنما في المنطقة بشكل عام وفي العالم أجمع. ولعلي حقيقة أشارككم بعض هذه التجارب التي بدأنا في العمل عليها في المملكة العربية السعودية فيما يختص بدور التعليم في صناعة قصة النجاح في هذا الموضوع. ولعلي أذكر موضوع في غاية الأهمية، أن كلنا نعلم أخواتي وإخواني أن صناعة التغيير في ثقافة المناخ هي جهود جمعية، ويحتل التعليم والتثقيف فيها الجانب الأهم والأكبر. لذلك حقيقة حرصت وزارة التعليم على صناعة منظومة متكاملة وإيكو سيستم لدعم هذه التوجهات العالمية، فبدأت بعدة أمور في غاية الأهمية، منها أن يكون ثقافة المناخ وثقافة البيئة هي جزء لا يتجزأ من منظومة التعليم واستراتيجية التعليم والتدريب في المملكة العربية السعودية. فصنعت استراتيجية التعليم والتدريب في المملكة، ومن أهم جوانبها الأساسية وهي الثقافة المناخية وثقافة البيئة التي يجب أن تغرس في الأجيال في كافة المراحل. ولعلي أيضا أطرح جزء يمكن من هذا التوجه وقصة النجاح، وهو متعلق بأن رحلة الطالب، وهذا جزء من الاستراتيجية الوطنية في المملكة العربية السعودية، جزء من رحلة الطالب من البري كي حتى المدرسة حتى الجامعة، سوف تعرض الطالب لمواطن مختلفة لأن يكون صديقا للمناخ والتعرف على أبرز التحديات الحالية والمستقبلية في هذا المجال. حرصت وزارة التعليم ليس فقط على أن تكون المناهج صديقة للبيئة، وهذا حقيقة واقع وموجود، بل هناك مواقع ومناهج مخصصة للبيئة في كافة المراحل الدراسية، لكن حرصت أيضا، وهذا مهم جدا، وهذه أيضا من الأمور التي نعتقد في وزارة التعليم أنها قصة نجاح يجب أن تتم، أن تكون المنظومة كاملة بما في ذلك الفورمال إديوكيشن في المناهج، وأيضا الإكسترا كوريكولر إديوكيشن وهو التعليم اللا صفي والأنشطة اللا صفية، أن تكون أيضا جزء من هذه المنظومة. وهذا التكامل حق الموجود جعل وخلق فرص كبيرة جدا سواء في التعليم العالي والتعليم الجامعي، في التعليم العام والتعليم الجامعي، لاستكمال هذه المنظومة حتى تكون هناك في بيئة محفزة ويكون هناك تكامل وتغيير ليس فقط في المعرفة وليس في المهارة، إنما في المعرفة والمهارة والسلوك والقيم البيئية التي تحرص المملكة العربية السعودية في كافة قطاعاتها على خلقها بشكل جاد ومهم. ولعلي أختم هذه الكلمة بأن وزارة التعليم تعمل ضمن منظومة الدولة، ضمن منظومة الحكومة حفظها الله، وتستلهم أيضا كل الجهود التي تعمل عليها الآن من واقع رؤية المملكة 2030 ومن واقع التزام القيادة الرشيدة حفظها الله. أنا متأكد أنه طرح السعودية الخضراء كما يعني التزمت بها حكومة المملكة وممثلة في سيدي ولي العهد رئيس مجلس الوزراء صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير محمد بن سلمان. والتزام المملكة حقيقة الذي نعمل عليه في وزارة التعليم يشمل كافة الجوانب التي تم غرسها حقيقة في منظومة التعليم لتحقق المستهدفات الوطنية والإقليمية والعالمية. نحن سعيدين حقيقة بوجودنا معكم في وزارة التعليم، ونتطلع أن نكون مساهمين بشكل فاعل للتغلب على هذه الظواهر ودعم هذه التوجهات الوطنية والإقليمية والعالمية. شكرا لكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. It is our honor to have you with us today, and thanks a lot for your insightful comments, especially on the need for concerted and coordinated efforts amongst different sectors, but also between the different sectors in education, between basic and higher education, as well as formal and non-formal education. And now let me please give the floor to the UNESCO Regional Director of the Office for the Gulf States and Yemen, Mr. Salah Khaled, for his opening remarks. Mr. Salah Khaled is with us online. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سعادة الدكتور عبد المنعم عبد السلام الحياني، وكيل وزارة التعليم والتعليم العالي، أصحاب السعادة والمعالي، السيدات والسادة، الحضور الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يشرفني ويسعدني أن أكون هنا معكم ولو افتراضيا عن بعد في هذا الحدث الذي يهدف إلى النهوض بالتعليم المناخي من خلال الشراكة من أجل تخدير التعليم، الذي تنظمه منظمة اليونسكو بالتعاون مع منظمة اليونيسف ورئاسة الدورة الثامنة والعشرين لمؤتمر
and
الأطراف
also the
بشأن التغير
presidency
المناخي
of the
COP
28
28.
COP
إن
28
الرغبة في تعزيز عملنا الجماعي
to
بشأن المناخ
strengthen
واضحة اليوم
our
أكثر من أي
collaboration
وقت مضى.
is
فقد تزايدت حدة
very
ظاهرة الاحتباس الحراري في
clear right
السنوات
now,
القليلة
and we
الماضية،
need it more than
وبلغت
ever
درجات الحرارة
because
هذا
the
الصيف أعلى
climate change
مستوياتها، ومع وصول درجات حرارة الأرض
is
إلى هذه المستويات
increasing, and
كان
the
لارتفاع
heat
درجات
is
حرارة
a lot
البحر أيضا
more
تأثير
increasing,
مدمر على
as
الحياة
well as
البحرية. وفي
the
الوقت
the
الذي
sea
يحذر
when
فيه
when
العلماء
the
من أنه
degree
دخلنا بالفعل
is
في
higher, or
منطقة
when it's
مجهولة،
the heat is
أطلق
so
الأمين
high,
العام
there wouldn't be
للأمم
any
المتحدة
life in
السيد أنطونيو
these
غوتيريش
oceans.
على ذلك اسم
And
عصر الغليان العالمي.
we call it right
وبالنسبة
now
لنا
is that
التعلم،
it's the
التعليم
heat
والشباب في
age,
صميم
which
الاستجابة
is
لأزمة
we
المناخ
use it as,
ويمثلان الركائز الأساسية لجلسة اليوم.
and there
منذ
are
أوائل تسعينيات القرن الماضي
late in the
أعززت منظمة اليونسكو
90s,
خطة التعليم من أجل التنمية
UNESCO
المستدامة
designed
كنهج استراتيجي
the
يؤكد على أهمية تعدد
the
التخصصات
educational system
ويسلط الضوء
sustainable
على الروابط
development,
القائمة
and
بين
it shed
المجتمعات
light on
واقتصادها والبيئة.
the
ويسعى
climate
التعليم من أجل التنمية المستدامة إلى
and
تحقيق
also for
التوازن
the
بين
development,
الرفاه البشري
sustainable
والاقتصادي
development.
والتقاليد الثقافية وتقدير الموارد الطبيعية لكوكب الأرض. كما يحرص على التعلم الهادف إلى تعزيز الانتقال نحو الاستدامة. أصحاب السعادة
Your Highnesses, distinguished guests, last year UNESCO studied
جمعت آراء ما يفوق
some
17,000 شاب وشابة
research putting together 17,000 youth, and 80% lack the proper education regarding climate change in schools. Affirms the necessity of including this in education. That's why UNESCO introduced last year partnership of education, the Greening Education Partnership, which is an initiative that is rooted in education for sustainable development, while focusing specifically on the role of education for addressing climate change phenomenon, one of the most pressing challenges in nowadays. Partnership for Education is international initiative to have more coordination and inclusiveness to support countries to accelerate addressing climate change and preparing all learners to acquire necessary competencies for climate change. So we adopted lifelong learning starting from early childhood education until adulthood, and the partnership encourages all countries to focus on 4 main areas. First, green schools. Green schools to consider environment, having school curricula that consider green matters, and to have facilities with capabilities considering environment. Fourth, green communities. It's worth mentioning that UNESCO is doing the General Secretariat for Partnership. It has the 4 areas of work and other areas that are led by other organizations. Today, 80 countries have joined as member states in this initiative. For this partnership initiative, 1,400 organizations joined from the rest of the globe, including our region. 76% of the countries that joined the initiative have stated that they want to review their curricula and introduce diversity of biology and climate change and sustainability issues in the curricula for the future. 87% planned that they have special programs for preparing teachers to consider environment as part of that partnership. UNESCO wants to promote the comprehensive approach to make transformation in education. It launched a program for considering curricula to consider environment for all country members, distinguished guests. Today we will listen to attitudes and the perceptions of youth and their requirements, in addition to sound practices that want to include climate change to be part of education in our region. And today we want to promote our commitment towards this regard and to see the pledges to discuss this in COP 2018 in the upcoming December in Dubai. In conclusion, I would like to thank all the organizers of Climate Week in the Middle East and North Africa, and for the UNFCCC and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the organizers in this panel. And the UNICEF and the COP 2018, and I look forward to promote cooperation to work according to this agenda in our region. Thank you so much, and wishing you all the best with this panel, with fruitful work and discussions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Shukran jazilan.
UNESCO Regional Director of the Office for the Gulf States and Yemen. Thanks a lot for these valuable remarks on the Greening Education Partnership and the focus on greening schools, curriculum, teacher training education systems, as well as greening communities. And now let me please give the floor to the UNICEF Gulf Area Office representative, Mr. Al-Tayyib Adam. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much. Okay, I hope you can hear me. سعادة الدكتور عبد المنعم بن عبد السلام وكيل وزارة التعليم بالمملكة العربية السعودية للتعليم الجامعي، أصحاب السعادة، الضيوف من الشباب، الأطفال الكرام، السيدات والسادة.
And young people, hello and welcome. It is my pleasure to stand before you to reaffirm the pivotal role for education and climate education to provide capacities, knowledge, skills to face the challenges of climate change. UNICEF, as my colleague just mentioned, we have seen the crisis of climate change is for children's rights, and they hinder the children's rights as stipulated in the children's rights. All children are facing different challenges of environment and the climate. In MENA alone, starting from 2023, more than 82 million children are facing severe climate challenges. Drought and floods and severe weather conditions lead to children displacement in MENA region along with their families, which make children susceptible to poverty, exploitation, trafficking, and losing their basic rights to obtain security, education, and prosperity. Climate education is a basic strategy to provide youth and children with the necessary skills and knowledge to lead climate work and consolidate its resolutions. For example, in Egypt, 300,000 teachers in public schools have been trained on climate education, in which 25,000 children have benefited. In Tunisia, there was public campaign awareness for raising the importance of hygiene, and 1,300,000 beneficiaries in Morocco, there was a program for bridges of learning, and in the UAE we are working with the Ministry of Education to provide the climate education and culture to be available at all schools, at UAE schools, by providing training to more than 2,400 teachers and 2,400 principals to teach them the importance of climate education. Our aim is to provide children with youth with green skills that are necessary to adapt with the impacts of climate change and mitigating their impact. We are looking forward to work with Ministry of Education in Saudi Arabia and GCC countries in similar efforts. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear youth, at UNICEF we strongly believe that children or young are indispensable partners to face climate change, and they have the right to actively participate and reformulate the goals and objectives to tackle climate change, which necessitates for us to cooperate to ensure and to include climate education in our curricula and education systems across MENA region. Through that, we try to empower our youth and children and prepare the upcoming generations to face the challenges of climate change with resilience and firm belief. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tayyib Adam, UNICEF Gulf Area Office Representative, for your very valuable and insightful remarks, and especially on bringing back the climate crisis as a children's rights crisis and bringing back the focus on children and youth. So thank you very much, everyone, for these insightful and inspiring opening remarks. We have heard the voices of young delegates, their experiences and needs around education and climate change, as well as practices and commitments in our region. I will now give the floor to my colleague, Ms. Jumana Haj Ahmad, Deputy Representative in the UNICEF Gulf Area Office, for a spotlight session on good practices in integrating climate change education in the education systems in the MENA region. And I invite the speakers to come to the podium. Thank you.
بسام لأنه إحنا أربعة. أوكي. تفضل.
معك السلام مرحبا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. هذا الجزء من الجلسة إن شاء الله حيكون باللغة العربية وفي ترجمة.
We have a translation available to those who need it. Our panel wanted to be interactive, so we will start with the first part to listen to about some experiences for climate education in the region. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Jumana Ahmed, the Vice Representative for UNICEF at the Middle East. We will have Mr. Bassam Saleh from UNICEF office in Jordan, and Mr. Badr bin Sulaiman bin Hamoud al-Harithi. We will have Dr. Isa Saleh al-Hamadi and Mr. Abdullah al-Abdullah. Welcome and thank you for being with us today. We have heard in the inaugural panel about different opinions of the importance of climate education and different efforts from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and other countries about introducing climate education in curricula, extracurricular activities, and so on. We have heard from Ghaya children's and youth's voice about the importance of climate education to focus not just on knowledge and information, but on skills as well. So youth and children can lead and make difference in their community. In this part, we will start to hear about the experience of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan from Mr. Bassam Saleh from UNICEF's office in Jordan. Mr. Bassam works with UNICEF for education programs in collaboration with different organizations and institutions such as Ministry of Education and other government and non-government institutions. Mr. Bassam will help us today to share Jordan's experience with the program called Learning Bridges. He will talk about how climate education has been introduced through this program. The presentation for each panelist will be 8 minutes, so we can leave part for discussion after the presentations. Will give you 3 minutes so we can hear from the rest of the speakers. Then we will move to the Q&A session. We will hear from you, Mr. Bassam, the experience of Jordan. Let me go to the podium so we can present a small video. Preparation was in English, but then it was transformed to Arabic so it can be easier. Learning Bridges program has been launched by UNICEF and the Ministry of Education in Jordan. Can you please go to the first slide? In the first slide, we can see the logo, Bridges. Bridges is based on transformation and for what is hope. And the part that has to do with the climate change, we can see in the picture here that students' participations for their projects in Learning Bridges. Simply, Learning Bridges is an innovative program. It's a blended learning program aimed at students' school from 4th to 10th, from the 4th until 8th, weekly activities, while from the 9th until 10th, they have projects. I will not go through many details, but let's see this video, watch it, then I'll show you pictures. We will have interactive part by the end of the presentation. Please go to the second slide and to the video, please. Our activity for today is the 4th activities of Learning Bridges for a green world. This activity talks about sustainability of Earth and the issues of environment and looking for solutions and link them to our day-to-day reality in our life in Jordan. Skills that students need is measurement, collaboration work, and work within a team, research skill, to look for Burgish forest. I was a bit shy and introvert. I didn't have talents. I liked designing, and the teacher made use of my designing skills. I acquired a lot of skills from the activities. I developed my designing skills. Learning Bridges helped me in our basic curricula. They were complementary. We took basic courses. Environment has become an obsession to students, and solving their issues were interest for students. We integrated reality and the issues of the world to the Jordan. We have seen ambition from the side of students to solve sustainability issues in Earth. I have learned about environment and the issues and how to conserve the environment. Learning bridges brush up the skills of students and make from them public speakers, researchers, and aware of their autonomy and learning. Thank you so much. We have also the logo of Ministry of Education, but because this is the first draft and we will improve it further later. We talked about learning bridges, that it is a blended innovative program that has been launched in 2020 with the issue of the pandemic, and the main target was how to help students to recovery of education and accelerate their education. It takes the complementary aspect. Sorry, interpreters, we will use some English words so we can make the terms unified. Here we have curricula and interdisciplinary. So in this activity and project, we can have research activities in mathematics, English, Arabic, within the theme of the activity, so students can execute different activities. As for climate change and sustainable environment, there are a number of themes that are related to the sustainability of the impact. The first part has to do with the designing the activities. There are some activities that have climate and environment as a main theme. We will have, you may find a project, it's called Towards a Green World. We have activities about global warming and climate change, and activities about Act Now, climate action. So we have a lot of activities and activities related to sustainable environment. Indirectly, there are activities about eradication of hunger, which is eliminating hunger, and other environment activities. The main objective of this program is to develop 21st skills, and bridges idea came from having a bridges from school to schools, to house, between teacher students, and between knowledge and actual application in reality. This leaves a very important impact. I will show you in pictures later how activities look like. We had paper-based activities on A4 size. Then we switched that to booklet. This is as you can see, the booklet. And for each activity, we had a guidance for teachers. There are PDF and paper-based guidance for each activity. We had Padlets for each activity. That includes the downloaded activities and assisting learning resources. These give other areas of exploration to students. These are some Padlets that you can see, and they will show what the activities look like. We had the challenge of sustainability project, and here we can say some of the outcomes. I will give you a QR code later at the break or in the last 2 minutes, so you can scan the QR code and look at the activities. Maybe later you can look at it, at how the activities look like. Here are some pictures for the learning outcomes. We talked about designing, implementation. A part of implementation was on communities of learning. We had communities of learning with leaders of education at each governorate. they were responsible to link with other schools, and they had dashboards to show their achievements. Part of the activities they had that there was wide room, possibilities and opportunities. There were a lot of possibilities for students and teachers for what they choose and what they see as appropriate for their interests. And at the same time, they have achieved outcomes for learning according to the school year that they belong to. Here in the pictures, as we can see, and part of this project, we had languages exhibition for the bridges, many exhibitions on the clusters of schools or governorates, always were shown, always climate change and environment had a basic part. Among our visits, we saw role plays, and children were acting on plays about the earth and the required measures. You can see the impact that students have felt, in addition to technology and methods of presentation. If you can see in the picture, you'll have just a minute. We have the 3 R's. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. You will notice how they have reused and invigorate these in the learning aids and visual aids throughout their learning. And this is, we can see the impact of that on children and students. And here are some pictures for the themes. We talked about the play. They have took part in several plays, and they took part in stories, digital skills, and how they present them, so we can sustain the impact. Our colleagues at the UNESCO talked about partnership and its importance, how greening learning is important. We have the nature of activities have several themes regarding climate change, directly or indirectly, to reiterating the impact and that students firmly believe about the importance of climate change. If you have the QR code, scan it, you will go through pillars in Arabic language for some samples of the activities, and we have a translation to English language. And if you see the activities, there are activities on the PDF and the Padlet. The last pillar on the right-hand side is for showcasing the Padlets if we want to present all and show all the activities. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Bassam. It is wonderful how we saw the focus on different activities and the interactive manner of working on several activities that the climate education calls for. Thank you for the Jordan experience. Now we will go to the upcoming speaker, second speaker, Mr. Badr bin Sulaiman bin Hamoud Al-Harithi. Mr. Badr, can you hear us? Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for joining us today. Mr. Badr bin Sulaiman bin Hamoud Al-Harithi is the assistant of the secretary of the local committee for education arts in Oman. He worked on local reports of education, his repertoire for the SDGs goals 2030 in Jordan. Mr. Badr took part a number of conferences, and he represented Oman throughout his experience and expertise. Mr. Badr, The floor is yours, and hopefully you will have 8 minutes. Sorry, I tried to stop you so we can give the opportunity to each one to share their experiences. I will run the presentation, and please instruct me which slides. Thank you, Madam President, and I would like to thank UNESCO in Doha and the partners of COP28, UNICEF, and we thank the colleagues in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for hosting this week, the Climate Week. The Kingdom is one of the pioneer countries in tackling climate change issues. As for our experience today that we take part with, the experience of green schools in Oman. We wanted the Doha UNESCO office to give us more time to talk about our experience for sustainable development in green curricula and green education. I know the time is limited. I will talk quickly and briefly about the initiative of green schools in Oman, which was implemented in Oman in the last academic year. And this is the second edition. Next slide, please. We started the program of green schools, or any project that supports climate change and maintaining the environment. The fourth SDG to achieve these goals by the year 2030, especially goal number 7, which is to provide all required knowledge for sustainable development, including education for sustainability and following practices of sustainable living. Our experience is a leading one, and I will talk about it briefly. In Oman, I would like to clarify that our interest in climate and environment was a long time ago. We won the UNESCO award for maintaining the environment, and there are a lot of practices to maintain the environment. Next slide, please. Our experience today is for green schools. We know that green schools are schools that provide circular knowledge and sustainability to students, which reflect their maturity of understanding of the issues of environment. This is the general definition for green schools in Oman. Next slide, please. There is direct relevance between green schools and sustainable development goals in general. They promote sustainable agriculture methods and food safety, and using natural resources, and promote the use of renewable energy, and promote work according to sustainability principles. All these areas are directly relevant to SDGs and practiced in green schools. I will talk about green schools, and it's relevant to local community, private sector, parents, and so on. However, here I wanted to show the importance of the relevance of this program in Oman and the SDGs in general. Next slide. Green schools, or this project, promotes integration for students. They promote the students' understanding of greening education in general, and focuses on practices and skills students acquire inside the school campus or outside school. Also, it promotes students having values and principles according to the environment. Oman is one of the first few countries that officially joined the greening education initiative. Currently, we are working on meeting all the indicators for this initiative in collaboration with UNESCO. Next slide. The topics tackled by this program, first and foremost, waste management, vegetation, renewable energy, and water resources. In the upcoming edition, we have added net zero and carbon neutrality. Oman pledged that it will achieve that by 2050. So these topics are practiced inside schools and taught inside schools. In green schools, there are annual celebrations for achieving the projects according to these schools by discussing and highlighting these topics. Next, please. This project is based on choosing students based on some rules. If a school wants to join this program, it goes through a number of criteria, and there are requirements to be met, and that includes, the terms include and ensure following scholarly method to register schools, green schools, as part of the program in Oman. Next, please. The pilot edition of the project. The project was launched the last academic year, starting from November 2022 until April 2023. First, it was targeting 12 schools, with 6 schools in each region. This in this pilot phase, we targeted 44 students, 400 parents, 150 schools in the pilot phase of the project, which showed unprecedented success by the end of this year, and I will show that in a minute. Next, please. The goals and targets of this project when it was in the pilot phase: to promote students' understanding of circular economy and the sustainability of the project, which can be applied to a learning environment, and I will touch upon that in a bit. Introducing environment themes to green schools, so not to include that just inside the school, but to have it in the local community and engage the local community with civil society organizations in the city or around the school, take active part in the project of green schools. Also, one of the goals is to provide necessary knowledge and skills to teachers and students alike. We target, as I said, parents, local communities, teachers, and students. These are the target segments of the pilot phase. Here are the elements of the project. We have many elements like environment concepts and school activities, whether curricula or extracurricular activities, workshops, seminars, innovations presented by students. These innovations by students are published in journals for students, and the inventions and the patents are presented in competitions. Here are the elements that the first edition focused on. You have 2 minutes, just 2 minutes. Okay. We have a specific curriculum called sustainability. We have one lesson weekly to teach a sustainability course by the teacher overseeing and supervising green schools. There is also a survey and form to choose the supervising teacher and the school. So to choose the right and appropriate teacher for teaching this course, then it can be extended to electronic education, and this curriculum can be edited next year. I will talk about the new edition that has been implemented this year, from 12 schools to 52 schools. These schools are in different governorates in Oman. They were 2, and now they have expanded to numerous governorates. Also, big companies were invited in the country. I mean, gas, telecommunication companies supported this program after following the success of the first edition. The last slide, and I hope that the President can give me some time. The first edition has been evaluated academically, and we used a number of methods to assess the first edition. Then there were some comments to improve the edition to include 52 schools and to add a number of themes and topics, which is carbon neutrality among the topics of the courses. We should introduce it to curricula in Oman to tell students we should achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. And we have a project called the Green Glass. And the certificate of Green Board, it is a certificate provided to school, valid for 3 years, and to prepare media plan that is consistent with the importance of this project. And there's indicator, very important, which is greening education, and to reach to half of the schools in Oman. And we hope to achieve this goal. And the years ahead will have increase in the number of schools, and we will achieve this indicator hopefully in the upcoming period. Sorry for taking much of your time. Thank you, Mr. Badr. It's lovely to see in the presentation how school and community parents have been integrated with integrated approach to include all members of the community. Thank you. Now we will move to Dr. Isa Saleh Al-Hammadi. Hello, Mr. Isa. He is the head of Arabic Education Center for Gulf countries. He is a professor at Mohammed bin Zayed University for Humanities. He was assistant professor at Sharqa University and Qasimi University. Dr. Isa will share a brief about important project they have worked on to integrate climate education in Arabic language courses. Hello, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, Dr. Hassan bin Muhsin Al-Kharabi, Undersecretary of Ministry, Dr. Tayyib, heads of national, regional, international organizations. Hello, distinguished guests. At the outset, I would like to thank all organizers for Climate Week, and especially I want to mention the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is doing a lot of efforts to support everything of an interest to climate for the humanity at large, nationally, regionally, internationally. And let me start immediately with my paper. The Office of Arabic Language for GCC is passing the resolutions, and one of the initiatives is to author studies that help and advise decision makers to have policies, and one of them is this paper called Arabic Courses Between Greening and Sustainability, according to the directives of GCC leadership to focus on the 21st skills and new concepts, whether green education or sustainable development, and so on. Here comes the importance of this program. The education ministers for GCC in 2019 and 2020 2020 approved this program to be achieved through the office, and this study came for the office, and one of the priorities of these concepts was citizenship and sustainable development, because they build knowledge and skills. Sustainable development will make students change their behavior after we highlight environment issues and find solutions, and defining strategies that match green education. The study identified a number of strategies, and by that we can achieve sustainable development goals and the green education, which is considered the way to achieve these initiatives. So the reasons for this project are a lot, but we wanted to integrate citizenship and sustainable development in all Arabic language courses. Usually we gather all the books for all countries from the first grade until 12th grade, and we scan them to see how they include green education and the importance of green education. We communicate directly with teachers so we can assess how these curricula include these topics. Then we prepare perception to ensure achieving the purposes of citizenship and the sustainable goal. The goals are aligned with the goals. The most important goal is to include goals of sustainability and discussing the health dimensions and relevance to environment, and to make them aware of environment issues so they can interact with the environment and to achieve safeguarding the planet and sustainable development goals. The phases of preparing studies are in 4 phases. The first phase, reviewing literature, whether Arabic or non-Arabic studies, and defining the best benchmarks. And also we have reviewed the goals of teaching Arabic language. Arabic language goals, have they been reformulated and mentioned in a clear manner for all GCC countries? Did they include goals of sustainable development, and to what extent? To what extent can we ensure achieving that before we start with going through the details that include the concepts of green education and environment, and to what extent these texts tackle these issues in Arabic language to equip students with concepts, because an interest in Arabic language promotes national identity, and promoting concepts in Arabic language will achieve the civilization dimension that is related to identity. How can we achieve the goals of identity while meeting the goals of presenting these concepts in our own language? Because this realizes national identity, and here comes the importance of taking care of Arabic language and deploying these concepts. The second phase was, as I said, reviewing studies and building the theoretical framework. We have 2 chapters for sustainability, sustainable development, and then we built the instruments and the research methods. You will find tables in detail for each country, for UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia. Each country had surveys and identified some elements related to goals of sustainable development. We discussed the book, exercises, teachers' guidance, and to what extent green education highlights these concepts. In the survey, we targeted supervisors, teachers, principals, education developers. There were some statistical analyses and presenting recommendations and building perceptions for what these curricula be based on and should be like to meet the goals for citizenship and sustainable development. The study pointed out the relationship between citizenship and green education and the importance of edutainment and greening education. I can't go through all these details given to the time constraint, but I would like to point out two important elements. When we studied the elements of the curricula, we relied on the green curricula and strategies of solving issues and the project-based education, and to what extent these curricula have strategies, because they are important for sustainable development goal realization and the green environment. The study concluded with recommendations for sustainability for building and developing programs and greening concepts like global warming, climate change, and with Arabic language. The second point is teaching academic language. Arabic language is not for communication. It is a language of scholarship, culture, academia. We should give students high skills in Arabic language and discussing the concepts in Arabic, and to have alignments between the market requirements and Arabic language, and linking Arabic to sustainability development, and supporting translation, Arabicization, and supporting teachers, especially on strategies through which we can ensure achieving the goals of sustainable development. And finally, distinguished guests, as Dr. Saleh just mentioned, and Dr. Al-Tayyib, the necessity of taking care of sustainable development goals and using them for the good of curricula. And this is a recommendation for decision makers to focus on the curricula for continuous update for the new concepts and skills for the curricula. And this requires constant development. And I would like to reiterate the importance of reviewing the curricula to check whether if they meet international standards. This study is available. You can look at it, and it has been sent to the education office at all GCC countries, so they can use it for all curricula, and can be used for Arabic language, which is the main target to achieve the target of the office. Thank you so much. I would like to thank the organizers and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for this commendable effort of organizing the Climate Week and this conference. Thank you so much. We have heard from Jordan experience about school implementation. We have heard from Oman. They implemented inclusive approach that includes partners and engages in community. We have heard an opinion about the findings of a study that studied how sustainable development and climate education can be introduced to Arabic language courses, with the areas that should be taken into consideration while focusing on Arabic language specifically. Now we will go to Dr. Abdullah Al-Abdullah, who will share experience by the philanthropic organizations. Mr. Abdullah is the CEO of Hands of Philanthropy toward Asia. And at this position, Mr. Abdullah led Rota to identify the priorities of the project led by youth in climate projects and green skills. We will listen to Mr. Abdullah about his approach in promoting education, green education, whether inside Qatar or outside Qatar. Do I have to come to the podium? Yes, of course.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, hello. I will try to be brief because I am the last speaker. I have to present briefly. As Ms. Jumana introduced us, we would like to share our own experiences in Qatar and the region and Asia and Africa about similar experiences for the topic of this panel. Undoubtedly, climate change is a pivotal topic, and we are at a critical point in history. Each day we can see the reality of that, and we can talk about it every day. I will try to have two parts. The reason of Rota to focus on education for climate education, climate change, as the Secretary General called this is the age of warming, the global warming and the melting. Each country can feel these changes. Moreover, youth generation represents more than 90% in most countries, especially in developing countries. These youth are the key to our collective future, but they are impacted by climate crisis. Although they take less responsibility in this regard, Education Above Us Association through Rota program embarked on identifying new strategy objectives focusing on education for climate work. We realize that education can be an effective instrument to bridge the gap between skills and knowledge facing youth to tackle climate change. We also believe that youth, when they understand issues and acquire green skills and develop values and positions, they can be the power driving change in their societies. The objectives of the strategy for education for green education have three main areas. First, greening education that UNESCO just mentioned, and the number of professors. We try to introduce climate in higher school education and build capabilities of facilitators and teachers for climate work. The second area is greening societies. We try to forge partnerships with companies and governments to acquire students with green knowledge and skills that they require to take climate measures in their societies. These measures range from regenerative agriculture and green measures. Third, greening refugee camps. Realizing the challenges facing youth in refugee camps, we try to develop relevant skills and knowledge to refugees to manage environment inside refugee camps and to promote sustainability inside these refugees. The essence of our work is work in this area is to focus on emotional, knowledge, skills areas. We give consideration and priority to behavior aspect, and we try to promote youth to help them to make use of the knowledge and skills. While in the knowledge side, we try to help youth to use critical thinking and understand international issues, regional and national ones that are related to climate change. We want them to understand the solidarity and integration of different communities and areas. In the emotional side, we try to make them feel belong to humanity and respect diversity to youth. We think these areas are very important to promote responsibility for more green, resilient and sustainable societies. The power of education for climate work
lies in behavior. Students are supported to work effectively with responsibility at levels for a world for more sustainability. That includes taking measures to address the impacts of climate change. I try to be brief and concise to the point as much as possible. Our commitment reaches beyond that. We try to take into consideration national, regional, international considerations, especially locally identified initiatives to link it to international objectives. We try to mitigate the impact of climate change and be resilient as set out by the OECD goals. I would like to share with you some relevant examples and partnerships we have. The presentation had some pictures for some of these projects. In Qatar, Rota program worked through learning education above everyone in partnership with the Ministry of Education in Qatar to develop one of the curricula for life skills for the 10th grade that has to do with the diversity of students in community. One of them is climate work led by youth. We designed courses to train teachers and provide technical assistance and technology and instrument methods for students to meet the number of hours required for volunteer in order to graduate and to help society at large. We have published a public booklet for community service and the themes that are related to sustainable development and climate change. Soon, in this week, later, we will sign with the Ministry of Education in Qatar to approve a project related to project-based learning curricula. One of the projects that iEarn network is working on, and a part of this project-based learning focuses on environment and cultural projects. We try to focus more on projects that are related to climate change. The signing will be in Doha Expo. We invite you to visit it. The education above everyone will be present there, and there will be another activities. One of our projects with Action Aid in Vietnam is a project with Action Aid for youth that they are the society leaders to lead climate work, and they have national network to exchange guidance through the projects that they have implemented. Recently, they have, after the rehabilitating farms of shrimp, they have shared the results. We have signed with Kenya in Africa with Girl Child Network to empower youth in refugee camp with green skills to tackle green initiatives, including rehabilitating forests that have been deforested because they were cut down for cooking. The time is limited, and the beneficiaries will be 75,000 youth from 14 to 25 years old. Recently, we started considering some projects to give youth green skills leading to green jobs, and there are some studies ongoing on some Arab countries. These are some local and international examples, and we hope to repeat them in MENA region. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Abdullah, for bringing work model which is local, with the same principles and approach that you are promoting outside Qatar. This model is lovely for philanthropy organizations. We have finished the different presentations. We wanted to have a Q&A session. However, to give the floor for the question, for discussions, for the conclusion of this session, we just have 8 minutes. We will take a question or two from the guests to the panelists. May I answer? May I ask a question, then answer it? Because time is limited, and we would like to hear from the distinguished audience whether if they have questions.
Okay, so
in conclusion, I would like to thank you for the different presentations, and through such presentations we have heard about methods of introducing climate education in curricula and outside curricula by extracurricular activities. And clearly from the presentations you have presented, climate education is the right of each child, and there are different initiatives by different countries around MENA region to introduce climate education and on national levels. We have heard about some learned lessons, and in the introduction I heard about efforts of the UAE to introduce climate education as part of preparing COP 2018. It's obvious that climate education should have style to provide youth and children with knowledge and skills. And from the presentations you have presented, all projects focus on climate work, how youth and children lead climate work in their communities. And there's emphasis on life skills for children and youth so they can take part in decision-taking process on school, community, and country's level. We have listened to the approach that this approach is an investment because it has double impact for this generation and the generation to come. Also, we have realized through your presentation that these initiatives should be institutionalized and implemented on national level. We have seen in Oman how they worked on expansion. They started with very few schools, then they extended this project to other schools to be included on national level, so they can reach to each child with climate education, not just to a limited number of children. Lastly, we have seen the importance of collaboration and cooperation between organizations. There are some initiatives proposed by Ministry of Education, but there is cooperation with parents, with community organizations and youth themselves. So these are the three main takeaways. We listened to the importance of research and the takeaways and the learned lessons, and how to introduce climate education to Arabic language courses, while we take some considerations and taking into account some recommendations emerging from the study. This summarizes the importance of research to identify priorities and approaches of countries to take their projects to the national level. By this, we wrap up our session. In conclusion, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Farida. Thank you so much. شكرا جميعا. أشكركم أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، السادة الحضور، لوقتكم المستقطع اليوم للحديث عن مبادرات
My name is Rose Armour, and I am from COP 28. I am leading up the education for the event. And I'm here joined with Mohammed Ahmadi and Khor Ahli, who are part of the International Youth Climate Delegate Program. And I'd like to give them a second to give some words and give some thoughts on climate education and their roles as in the delegate program.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's really nice to see you all here today. And I think we heard a lot and learned a lot from this session about the importance of education. But I want to mention a personal story within the field, as in how education was a main enabler for me to get into the field that I like and that I'm passionate about. So in high school, I was this very excited student, I would say. I wanted to take part in many things. I was like trying many different things. And whether it was, for example, like a beach cleanup, whether it was an art workshop, I would like try everything basically. And one of my teachers, she saw that in me. She knows that I like that, and like I used to talk to her a lot about how I love going on nature hikes, how I love going on cleanup hikes and all. And she came to me. She's like, I saw this program, and you might be interested in it. It was the WWF and EAD Emirates Nature Program, UAE Nature Ambassadors Program. So I applied to that, I got accepted, and I would say that was the main catalyst for me to get into the climate community. From there, my journey started. I got to know more about basically the climate crisis and the basic diversity that I wasn't really aware of, about the diversity that's in the UAE and that's in the region itself, in the MENA region. And the more and more I learned about it, the more I started to know why it is important for us youth to be engaged in this, and to also connect that knowledge and ensure that our community gets that knowledge in a way to basically pass it on to them. So the key point in here is how one teacher, one education leader saw the talent and the passion in the student, and she came to her and she was like, and she came to me, but I'm saying her now, and she came and she was like, Mom, might take part in this opportunity. It's something that suits you, and yes, it was something that I really liked. I really learned a lot from. So yeah, I would say this is a call for all educators in this room and the whole MENA region, basically, that you are the leaders and the people that see that passion in your students, and you have that power to change the life of someone basically with those opportunities. And yeah, so there is the aspect of teachers and educators, and then there's the aspect of the school itself. And even when I started my journey and I started taking part in, for example, more international conferences, they were a main enabler for me to go to those conferences. And they were very supportive of that. So it's very important to emphasize that without that support, I may have not been able to reach those places, to get to know those people, and to get that knowledge as well. So it comes to basically that adaptability from both sides of the spectrum, and basically catering those resources to them and ensuring to find those talents within your students. And I'd like to hand it over to my colleague, Mohammed.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Ahmadi, originally from Iran, and I have three main points prepared. So firstly, just wanted to talk about how education was one of the main reasons I got involved in the climate movement. Even though the education I received in school wasn't intersectional, which it needs to be, it's just the basic science, greenhouse gases, just the effects of climate change. And even that, I mean, really, it shocked me, and it really motivated me. I felt a responsibility that I need to do something. And in 2019, I started getting involved on a local level, and then that ramped up a bit. I got involved on a state, regional, international level. And after that, I attended the Youth for Climate pre-COP 26 conference as a representative of Iran. I gathered with the other MENA delegates and decided to start the MENA Youth Network. And now we're working to educate, empower, and mobilize youth in the MENA region. And so that's just the point of that is to say that education has a chain effect. So you educate one youth becomes educated, and they may go on to educate 100 youth. So it keeps increasing. So education really is it needs to be strong. It needs to be intersectional, and we need to improve that. Second point is about the COP28 Greening Education Hub. So it's going to be in the green zone. We were told that it's going to be the largest space in the green zone. And it's good that it's there because it's going to be accessible to the public. And the blue zone, of course, it's more and more restricted, but the green zone is open. So we can get and engage with many more people, university students, young people, and people who are just interested, just coming in, just learn. And that's a way we can educate them, empower them, and get them involved. And hopefully, that hub is going to be the catalyst for climate education discussions and activities at COP28. And the third point is that just a call to join the Greening Education Partnership, and there's over 700 organizations, I believe, and about 60 member states. And so whatever org you're with, whatever government, company, foundation, I think it's important to use your resources and expertise on climate change efforts, climate education efforts, and of course join the partnership and contribute. And the MENA Youth Network just recently joined, and we're excited to work with the partners, and hopefully you guys too.
Mohammed, Hur, thank you both so much for sharing your stories with us. And I think, Mohammed, you did a nice job of kind of leading into my final thoughts. The session today was about the Greening Education Partnership, and we really want to, part of what we're trying to do at COP28 is trying to platform that and trying to really promote that. We're going to have high-level events, education ministerial at the event, and we are really working to get more nations to sign on to become signatories and to sign the declaration, to commit more effort and to commit more work to be able to hit the four pillars that we've heard so much about today: the greening the schools, greening the curriculum, teacher training, and greening your community and doing community outreach. This is so very important to the mission of what we're doing, and COP28 is really prioritizing that by giving youth a day, by giving children a day, and by giving education a full day of focus. But I think it's very important to also realize that that there will be programming throughout the entire COP event on these topics. So there will be the Youth and Children's Pavilion in the blue zone. There will be a youth hub in the green zone, as well as the Greening Education Hub that will have the Rewired Summit happening during the event. So it's really, really, there's going to be a lot of content and a lot of momentum to really move the Greening Education Partnership and the work that the Youth Climate Champion is doing forward. And so I think it's important. I'd like to leave with the thought of how can we prepare this next generation to be able to address the climate crisis. And I think it's important to think every 12-year-old today is going to work for the environment when they get older. No matter what career they get into, no matter what they do, it will be part of their job. Just like 10 years ago, we wouldn't have thought that we had so many positions in social media. 5 years ago, we wouldn't have thought we had so many roles in AI. This is the future, and we need to make sure that we're educating and preparing our youths for this future that they will be living. So we're really excited to see what we can accomplish at COP28 and to continue beyond COP and making these commitments to our youth and to our children. So thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm sorry we went over a couple minutes, but we really appreciate your time and all the effort of all of our distinguished speakers and everyone that joined us. Thank you so much.